Hello friends, as you can see today we are going to learn how to install 12c R2 multi-tenant database on Oracle Enterprise Linux 6.5. We will make sure that there will be DNS as well for scan listeners. So let's proceed. You see the complete step-by-step documentation in front of you. So I have provided some general information in here. So you see that there is information about SSH client tool which I am using, which is this one. Operating system I'm using Oracle Enterprise Linux, which I have downloaded from Oracle website. I'll share the Oracle Enterprise Linux binaries with you on Google Drive as well if you need to. Now I'm using Oracle software from oracle.com as well. The database software is this version and grid software is this version. Make sure that you create an account in oracle.com to download, otherwise you won't be able to download it. Virtualization software, I'm using VMware 14 Pro. I have purchased this software. This software is available in trial version as well. You can try it out, or you can use the VirtualBox, which is Oracle product. For transferring from Windows to Linux boxes to the specified locations, I'm using WinSCP. This is the tool which I'm highlighting. Let me show you actually. This is the tool. You can download it free from Google. The resource I'm using is pretty high end, but you can go below this, but make sure that you try to be in and around whatever configuration I have provided so that everything goes smooth. So I'm using currently 80 GB hard disk for 2 nodes, so 80 into 2 for each node. This is for the lower local OS installation. That will be the root folders and other folders if you want to have it. Now for the ASM disk storage, I'm using 50 GB, which is for the OCR and voting disk. 50 GB for the data disk, and for flash recovery area I'm using 10 GB. For RAM I'm using 5.7 to 6 GB each on each node. I'll include 4 GB for CentOS as well, so it comes around lump sum 16 GB or overall memory size. Okay, so for operating system installation, I think you guys might be knowing about how to install it, but still we will go through this. We'll be installing 2 node cluster, so there will be 2 operating system installed on 2 nodes. There will be one more CentOS version 7 will be installed just for DNS. 80 GB locally for the Oracle Enterprise Linux. It's not needed that much for the CentOS because it's just running the DNS server, nothing more than that, so it can be around 30 to 20 GB overall. Configuration overview is what we will do is after installation we will configure the network. During the installation we will configure the IP addresses. When setting up the virtual machines, you can provide 3 network adapters for each machine. Why I'm giving 3 network adapters is the reason as one network adapter will be used for using internet to download binaries or install stuff. One is the private interconnect, and the third is merely for Oracle usage. For CentOS machine, we will be just using one network adapter because we don't need that much amount. We just need a communication from our Oracle Enterprise Linux machines to the CentOS machine. We need to add the disks so that we can configure ASM in future. We need to configure the Vmx file. This file is proprietary to virtual machine, that is VMware virtual machine. We need to configure that so that the disk whatever we create will show as persistent, and then we can mount it and use it for ASM. Now after starting the host, we will need to turn off the firewall. We can configure the firewall rule as well, but we are not going there. We are not going to configure the operating system. We are going for basics. So turn off the firewall, check the IP addresses, try to modify the host file. I'll show you guys the IP addresses which I am using for the two nodes, and try and ping all the nodes. Okay, now let me show you the IP addresses I'm using. Let me pull this here. Hold on. Okay, so IP addresses scheme, I'm using public IP. Okay, so one thing you guys need to make sure that the network address which you see 192.168.10, there are chances where you guys might have 192.168.1 or other IP addresses like class B or class A public private IP addresses. So you need to configure it accordingly to what your router and DHCP is providing it to you. Now these are the node names. I'm going to configure all the names. In the future, I'm just creating the host file so that I just can copy and paste accordingly in future. These are the private IP addresses. I'll show you where you can configure the private IP addresses. These are the virtual IPs. I'm not going to discuss completely about what is virtual IP and what is CAN IP and why interconnect is used and those stuff, because this is solely for the rack administration and deployment. We are currently just seeing how to install the two node 12C R2 cluster, and that too for we are using DNS as for the scan, and not going internally to how the configuration is done or what is the logic behind each and every stuff. In future I might come with the different courses, but currently this is what it is. Okay, so let's proceed. Let me pull this here again. This is the complete documentation of what we are trying to achieve. Now let me minimize it and let me show you guys. Okay, so I'm back. What we are going to do is let's start configuring the two nodes cluster. So for that, let's start creating virtual machine. Okay, I promised to show you where I have configured the private IP addressing scheme, which I have shown you before. All the configuration is done from the VMware virtual network. This is what it is. That is the reason it's showing you the 47.0. This IP addresses is actually not pingable by the devices in your network, but the thing is, because this is acting as just for host only, so whichever host you are actually creating in VMware, they will be able to ping each other, and for that reason I am using this for a private interconnect. For the technicalities, for the heartbeat, what rack is for, to know which instances are up, as well as to transfer the blocks from one node to other node. This is why the private connect is used. I'm going to cancel this. We are not going to waste that much time on this. Let's create a new virtual machine. Okay, by the way, I have created this folder to start separating the different virtual machine. These are the different machine I was playing around with. So I'm going to minimize it. Let's create a new virtual machine. Let it be typical virtual machine. Currently it's picking up the virtual machine from my hard disk wherever I have downloaded it, but I'll show you. You need to locate that particular download file. I have downloaded into the D drive in OS, so I'm going to use Oracle Linux. It has already automatically detected the Oracle Linux version 6. We'll click next. Let's give it the name that is rack 1. So make sure do not merge the different machine into a single folder. Try to make sure that everything is clean, installed separately, so that in future if you want to edit anything or play around or delete something, then you are deleting the specific node details. Otherwise you are going to mess it up on the complete infrastructure. So better you need to segregate the different environments or the different machines. So that is what I'm doing. I'm picking drive D. I have created a Oracle rack machine. There is a rack 1 folder I have created, same as the virtual machine name. Okay, by the way, this is not the real virtual machine name. This is just for the VMware workstation. You can modify it later, but this is not the host name. Okay, just a second, let me check. I think I have created 2 virtual machine, but I have yet to delete. Let me delete it. Sorry about that. This is what I was playing around earlier. So we will create everything new. So now the folder is empty. It's not going to complain again. Let's give it 80 GB. We are not going to waste that much time on in here. So as promised, let's give it 5.7 approximate. Okay, so bridged adapter. So my first adapter is bridged adapter. Bridged adapter is actually, you can call it as a pathway which will let you to browse the internet. It actually mimics the physical network itself. So when you complete the installation, when you see and do IP or sorry ifconfig, it will pick up the address from your DHCP, your home router. So that is what you need to actually route the traffic and browse the internet itself. This is not the private, this is completely public, so you can browse the network. For that reason I am creating one bridge. We are going to create 2 more. Just a second. Just pick network adapter, finish, and say host only. So I have already shown you the host only. It will pick up 192.168.47. Whatever IP addresses you are going to provide, and add one more network adapter. We'll again pick bridged. We are not using the NAT. So finally we see that bridged automatic, and host only adapter is showing in here. Click finish, because the power on this virtual machine after creation is checked. As soon as I click finish, it will pop up and start installing it. Okay, just press inside that virtual machine and press enter. Okay, you see that there is okay and there is skip. Just skip it. Wait for some moment. Okay, there is a compatibility issue, but that's okay, no problem, it's going to install it anyways. Now it will bring up the graphical user interface so that you can click next and start configuring the details. Okay, click next, click next, click next. Basic storage device, click next. Yes, let's name this host, which is rack1.local domain. So this is the real host name. Eventually when you have installed this virtual machine and you say host name, it will give you the information rack1.local domain. So this is the actual host name. Currently what I will do, I'm not going to configure the IP addresses currently because I do not know which is private, which is public. Eventually, as soon as everything is installed, I'm going to do if config and then we will be providing the IP addresses accordingly. Otherwise I'm going to mess up everything. So currently what we will do, this is not automatically connected, we are going to automatically connect this. We are just check automatic DHCP, automatically connect, double click, automatically connect, close it, hold on for a minute and then click next. Select the region. I'm currently in Toronto, so I'll pick my region. Provide the password, make sure that you remember the password. This is root. This is the development environment, this is not the production environment, so you can put that an easy password. Go ahead, click next, use anyway. Okay, you have to stop here, you don't click next. So we are going to create a custom layout. We have to actually, what you need to do is for Oracle clusterware, Oracle database software and Oracle database itself, to install that we need a separate home. So for grid infrastructure, that is ASM and Oracle clusterware, you need a separate home. So I'm going to create a /grid mount point. For Oracle software itself, I'm going to create /Oracle. I'm going to create a root mount point, that is important because everything is based on root itself, so that is required. And then create the swap space. So that is what we are going to do. And for the database, if you guys have a question in mind, where will the database be sitting, so that will be on the ASM itself. So that is future. Click next. Click here, click create standard mount point. Let's do for the root itself 20,000, so this is 20 gigs. Click OK. Now create swap. Swap will always be double the RAM size whatever you have given. I have given 5.7, so I am going to give it 10 gigs. Swap space is basically, you can call it a kind of when your memory is completely full, the pages will be swapped into swap space so that the machine won't crash. So yeah, so for hard drive will be used as swap space. It's slow, but this is how the least used blocks can be pushed to the swap space. That is the reason we are giving it double the amount of RAM we are using, just for the safety purpose. Now create a /grid mount point. I'm going to give it 22,000. That is 22 gig. Okay. And finally, this is /Oracle mount point, /Oracle. And make sure that you say fill to maximum allowable size. And click next. Format the partition, write changes to the disk. It is going to create all the specific partitions. Okay, in here you have to stop, don't click next. What you need to do is click database server in here, click customize now, click next. Now you don't need to select all of them, but make sure that you are selecting the desktop, otherwise you will be getting a black screen. We are not doing Linux administration in here, and we need a graphical user interface. For that reason you need desktop. Other than that you're not required to do anything. Click next. Okay, so it's going to install it. It may take around 10 to 15 minutes according to your hard disk or solid state drive, how the performance is. So what you guys need to do is create another machine, name it rack2, do all the same process in there and complete the installation. I'll come back, I'll pause this video, I'll come back after this is installed, and then we will do the next steps.